Hello students, in the last class we have seen how to arrive at the solution of the differential equation for a mass which is attached with a spring and there is no any damping associated with it. We haven't actually talked about that damping, so that's why it is called as undamped oscillator, undamped single degree of freedom oscillator, and we have seen how to arrive at the solution of that. Now in this particular lecture I want to show you how exactly that solution looks like, and we'll try to kind of take out certain inferences from the solution that we see. Okay, so let's start with the class today. Okay, and in this, as I told you, I'll be showing you the simulation of it, and I have written over here the solution that we have obtained in the last class. Solution reads like this. So this is the displacement solution. So displacement should come out to be x0 times cosine of this quantity, and this quantity is square root of k by m times t. Okay, so cosine of this quantity is the time dependence of this term which is multiplied by this x0, and then there is another term which is dependent on time, and that is sine of square root of k by m into t. This m has to be capital M. Okay. M is mass, K is stiffness, and you will be able to see that this term which is there in the inside the bracket, okay, square root K divided by M, this has got system parameters involved into it. Okay, so once you decide the mass and spring stiffness, then these two quantities, and essentially this part is determined, and what changes is actually the kind of initial condition that you give, which are sitting over here in x0, and this is x dot 0, which is the velocity. So depending on what is the velocity and displacement at the beginning that you give, this x is going to change. Otherwise this k and m, these are system parameters, they are not going to change. Once you pick the system, it's going to stay there as is. Okay, so and this t is the time variable. Now this is one small MATLAB program that I have written over here, which will show you how exactly solution is developing. Now in this, let me run this program, and when the solution will be seen on the screen, I'll be telling you more about this. Okay, so before that, okay, so let me tell you that this is the stiffness of the spring, which is picked up to be 1000 units, and M I have picked out to be 10 units. So this is some, I mean, I have selected certain random numbers. You can have any other number over here, okay, at any of these two places. And then I am assuming that the initial displacement is equal to 0.2 units, okay, and there is no any initial velocity, which is 0. Okay, so you are kind of pulling the mass at one end, and how much you are pulling it by 0.2 units. Okay, and then you are leaving it from there, and then the mass is kind of performing the oscillatory motion. Okay, so let me run this, and this program will show you how exactly our displacement will go on modifying. Okay, see, this is the displacement curve. Okay, this is actually the mass block which you are seeing over here. Unfortunately it stopped in between, but anyways it has kind of picked up again. Okay, so this black mark that you see over here, that is a mass. Okay, rather than the mass oscillating in the horizontal direction, I have just inverted it and kind of kept it in the vertical way, but you assume that it is there is a spring over here, and this is the mass block, and it is oscillating vertically, but there is no any gravity. Okay, and this is how the displacement is going to evolve with time. X-axis is time over here. Okay, so these many seconds, so this, or units, I have not, everything is in units. Okay, so I have not given any typical unit to it. You can pick any unit, and generally we always have seconds used for time. Okay, so this x-axis is showing you how many seconds have elapsed. So let's say if you want to know what is the displacement at 2 seconds, so what you'll do is you'll go along x-axis at this location 2 seconds, then you will see what is this value at 2 seconds. Okay, oh, it's near to 0, so it must be very much near to mean position. Okay, so let's say if you pick at some other point somewhere over here, okay, so which is 1.2 or something like that, so what should be the displacement at that time? That displacement is equal to 0.2. This is 0.2. Okay, so this 0.2 is kind of the extremity. Okay, so from where you are leaving the mass, so you are leaving the mass from this end. Okay, it starts a journey from the this extremity, which is at 0.2 units from the equilibrium position, and then it comes near to the equilibrium position, then it passes from the equilibrium position to the other side, and then again shuttle back. So it keeps on shuttling. Okay, and this is the same graph over here, but it is only, I mean, its motion is plotted along the time axis. Okay, here you see, here you don't see any time over here, but here you see time axis. So on x-axis you have time, and on y-axis you have displacement of the mass from the mean position. Okay, so when you say 0, the displacement is 0 and the mass block is at equilibrium position. When you say 0.2, which is over here, so for that location, mass block is towards the other extremity on the negative side of it, and spring is compressed. And how much is the distance between the mass block and the equilibrium position? That is equal to 0.2, but on the other side. Okay, so okay, fine. So this graph is kind of, we are very much okay with it. Okay, so let me run this once again, so you'll be able to see how it exactly evolves. Okay, so I'll run it once again for you. So let's try to see. Okay, this mass block is at this extremity, went over here again to that extremity. Okay, so it kind of shuttles, right? Good. Yeah, now we'll once again see it, and I want you to observe one thing into it. Okay, the velocity of this mass block is changing. Okay, when it is near to the mean position, the velocity is highest, whereas when it is towards the extremity, velocity is least, which is 0. Okay, so we'll be able to see that over here. Okay, so the second graph is the velocity variation, and as you know that this graph, which is the displacement, since there is no any initial velocity, displacement should be having this much amount of expression only. There won't be any contribution coming from this side, that as xd0 is 0. Okay, so there will be contribution coming only from this side. Okay, and so you can say that displacement variation is of cosine nature with this much amount of amplitude. Okay, so you will be able to see it over here. So this is cosine function, okay, multiplied by 0.2. Okay, so draw a cosine function and multiply by 0.2, and whatever that you get is the displacement. Okay, so first derivative of this is going to be the velocity, which is going to be the sine function that you are seeing over here. Okay, so this is the sine one. Okay, so it will rather be minus sign, so it is minus sign times this thing. Okay, so there will be x0 times square root of k by m. So something else is also going coming out and going to sit over here, and then the amplitude of the velocity will be different than that of the displacement, and you will be able to see that there is a phase difference. So let's say that this point on this graph is over here, right? Whereas you are right now in the beginning itself, you are at this point when you are in the velocity diagram. Okay, whereas if you see it in the displacement diagram, it's slightly ahead of what you are seeing over here. Okay, so this is the velocity diagram. Okay, now one more thing that we just now have talked about is that velocity is maximum at certain times and velocity is 0 at certain times. So where is velocity 0? Where is it when the mass is towards the extremity? So when mass is towards the extremity, there is no any velocity to it, but there is only acceleration which is acting onto it. Whereas when the mass comes to the equilibrium position, that is at x is equal to 0, at that times velocity is maximum. Okay, so just try to see to it. When mass is, displacement is 0, when mass is at equilibrium position, velocity should be maximum. So for this time velocity is maximum, but in the opposite direction. Okay, similarly another point where mass is hitting equilibrium position, this point. Okay, when mass is at this point, you see that the velocity is maximum. Whereas let's try to see when velocity is 0, when velocity is 0 at time t equal to 0 itself, right? At that time, what is the position of mass? Mass is at the extremity. So when mass is at the extremity, velocity is 0. When mass is at the equilibrium position, velocity is having extremum. Okay, so either it will be negative or it will be positive. Okay, So this kind of explains these two graphs, and I want you to know one more thing. Okay, so let's try to see. Okay, what is that? If you try to see to it, this is periodic, which you know that this is a cosine function, though, so it has to be periodic. And what is the period? That will be determined by what is there inside this. Okay, so what is getting multiplied by this t? Okay, that term is the square root of k by m. So if we just try to see to it, what comes out to be square root of k by m, it comes out to be equal to 10. Okay, so this is nothing but omega, which we'll be calling as circular frequency. Okay, so this is the circular frequency, and what is the corresponding period? I hope you are aware of what is the circular frequency. Corresponding period is 0.6283. Okay, so let's try to see whether you get that much amount of period. Yes, so if you try to see, when it completes one oscillation, it is 0.6283. okay, which is nothing but 2 pi by 10. Sorry, so it's 2 pi by 10, nearby that, right? So it's 2 pi by 10. So that is what is the period of oscillation of this mass. Okay, so I hope you know the circular frequency. So by circular frequency, what do we mean? So now if you see this mass particle is oscillating over here. Okay, now you can think of this mass particle as a projection of another fictitious particle which is circulating, okay, along a circle, which is moving along a circle. I'm so sorry, I changed it. So you can say that this Mars particle is nothing but projection of another fictitious particle which is kind of rotating along a circular path with a constant angular velocity. And what should be the angular velocity? If the angular velocity is 10 radian per second, then the projection of that fictitious particle on this line, okay, on the line of action, is nothing but motion of this mass. So wherever you will get the projection of that fictitious particle, so right now the fictitious particle will be over here itself, so the projection will be itself, will be this point itself. Okay, when the fictitious particle will go and sit over here, at that time projection will come and fall over here, so you will get to see zero displacement. Okay, now afterwards, after some time, that fictitious particle will travel along this circular path and it will come to the other extremity, which is this one, and that itself will be the projection of the that fictitious particle, which will tell you that this much amount of the displacement is that of the mass. Okay, so mass motion can be assumed to be projection of another fictitious particle, and the speed with which that fictitious particle rotates along this circular path is nothing but the angular frequency, and which comes out to be 10 units. And what is the period corresponding to that angular frequency? That period is 0.6283 seconds. Okay, so which we see over here. After 0.6283 seconds, so everything is repeating. Okay, so displacement pattern has got repeated, and this velocity pattern also repeats. So velocity patterns completes one cycle over here, and then it again goes into that cycle. Okay, then the third cycle, then the fourth cycle. I have intentionally carried out this simulation for 4 cycles. Okay, so I hope that these 3 graphs are clear to you, these 2 graphs and this one. Now there is another interesting graph which I have drawn over here. Okay, so which is this last one. Now there are 3 lines into it. Okay, one is this dark blue, one is this magenta, and the other one is this faint blue or cyan, whatever you call it. Okay, so now let's try to see what these lines are. These are nothing but energy quantities. Okay, so this one, which is the blue line, okay, that is showing you how is potential energy is varying. So variation of blue line is showing you how is the potential energy of this mass is changing with time. Okay, so as mass is moving, it is causing the spring either to compress or to extend. So spring is getting compressed and extended because of motion of the mass, and because of that spring's extension and compression, certain potential energy is being added. I mean that the potential energy is changing of the system. The system's potential energy, if you see, that will keep on changing with the motion of the mass. What will be the potential energy of that mass? It will be half k x square. Okay, so x is the displacement. Okay, so whatever is the displacement, half k times that will be the potential energy, and that you will see it is over here. Okay, so at any x you will see that this much amount of potential energy will be associated with it. Okay, so if you try to see to it whether it comes out to be let it be k and let this be x0. Okay, so what comes out to be the value? Yes, so in the beginning, that is right at the start, when time t is 0, so what is the potential energy associated with that system? So that potential system has got potential energy equal to 20 units, okay, which we'll see over here at this time. Okay, at time t equal to 0, blue line is showing you potential energy which is of 20 units. Okay. Similarly, the mass is in motion, so it will also have kinetic energy associated with it, and kinetic energy will be half m times displacement velocity, right? So I have this velocity vector calculated, which is over here. So let me find out the velocity at the beginning, right at the start, which is 0. We already have given it, but I am also calculating that velocity inside for next time steps. Okay, so it is square of this quantity, so it should be 0. Okay, because velocity itself is 0, you are giving x dt x d0 as 0. Okay, so this one, so this is the beginning and it is 0, and then it goes on changing as this is the velocity. Yeah, this is the velocity graph, so it kind of changes this way. So since velocity is 0 in the beginning, kinetic energy is also 0. As the velocity goes to this negative maxima, kinetic energy builds up and goes to maxima over here. And if you try to see to it, maxima of kinetic energy is same as that of the maximum of potential energy. Maximum of potential energy is what? 20 units. Okay, so whatever initial energy that you have supplied, so that is the maximum of potential energy. So same is the maximum of kinetic energy. But when kinetic energy is going to maximum, at that time potential energy is going to 0. So where this is going to happen? This is going to happen there where you have velocity maximum. So where is the velocity maximum? That is extremum. So where, for example, when we are over here, the velocity is at its extremum, which is on the negative side, and that time what is the displacement? If you go straight upside, you will try to see to it that displacement is 0. Okay, so when velocity is maximum, displacement is 0, and hence there is no any potential energy, but the kinetic energy is maximum. So this way, these two energies, velocity, potential energy and kinetic energy, will keep on shuttling, and there will be give and take between these two energies. So whatever potential energy is getting lost, that much amount of kinetic energy is being gained. So what happens when this mass particle starts its journey from the extremum and comes to this equilibrium position? At that time, although there is no any potential energy associated with it, now there is no any spring force on that mass, but still it has got a velocity, it has got a kinetic energy, and on account of that it is kind of pushed towards the other side, and it is this, so as I just now told you, it is this potential energy with kinetic energy which is pushing it to go on the other side. Similarly, when the mass particle goes to this extremity, either to this extremity or to the other extremity, then at that time it doesn't have any velocity. So when you have displacement extremity coming, at that time there is no velocity. So in the beginning there is no velocity over here, and displacement is at its maximum. Similarly, when you see another 0 in the velocity graph, you will see that displacement is maximum on the other side, right? So when displacement is a maximum, there will be maximum potential energy, but at that time velocity is 0, hence kinetic energy will be 0. So kinetic energy is 0 and potential energy is maximum. So there will be shuttling between kinetic energy and potential energy maxima. So when you have kinetic energy maxima, potential energy maxima won't be there. It will be zero at that time. Okay, and how much amount of kinetic energy you are losing, that much amount of potential energy you are getting, and vice versa. So if you sum both of them, you will get to see that sum of the kinetic energy and potential energy is same, identical for all times. So I have plotted this top line, whatever that you see, that is the sum of these two energies, and at any point you will see that the total energy of the system remains the same, which is 20 units. That is the amount of energy that you have kind of imparted or given right in the beginning to the system, and that keeps on shuttling between kinetic energy and potential energy. It only takes different forms. Okay, but essentially the total energy, sum of all energies inside this system, that remains the same. I'll just run the simulation once again so that you will be able to appreciate whatever that we have said so far. Okay, so see, this is how the motion of mass particle is. This is the displacement variation, velocity variation, and these are the variations in the kinetic energy, potential energy, and the total energy. So with this you have what all you have understood. You have understood that, okay, fine, with the choice of initial condition, how exactly mass is going to perform its oscillation, that is going to change. Fine. Okay, you also have seen that when you don't have any velocity coming in, at that time whatever graph that you see is that of the cosine graph with only certain magnification factor, and that is initial displacement, whatever initial displacement that you give. Okay, now you have also seen that there is this velocity variation which is showing extremum at certain location, then it is also coming to zero. So it is also oscillatory behavior, that velocity, whatever graph that you see, that is also showing oscillatory behavior. And when velocity is maximum, at that time displacement is zero. When velocity is zero, displacement is maximum, that is extremum. Okay, so it also gets manifested in terms of the energies, where you have two energies to be considered in this problem. One is the kinetic energy, which is drawn by this magenta colored graph, and the other one is the potential energy, which is this dark blue graph. And you will be able to, you have already seen that sum of these two energies always remains the constant, which is equal to 20 units. And we have seen that the period of oscillation of this mass particle is equal to 2 into pi divided by square root of k by m, okay, which is this one. Okay, so square root of k by m, this value is termed as circular frequency. Okay, and 2 pi by that circular frequency is 10. Okay, so this circular frequency is also called as natural frequency. Okay, so why is this called as natural frequency? Because what you have done is you have simply disturbed the system from its equilibrium, and the system is performing this oscillation all by itself on the account of internal imbalance, okay, which is coming from that spring force. Okay, so this is its natural behavior of the system, and this is the natural period of the system. Okay, so it is based on system parameters, which are k and m, and based on these parameters this graph has been generated. Okay, so that is, this period has been decided. Okay, so that's why it is called as natural oscillation period, or natural frequency. You will be able to see that if I change the initial condition, this period is not going to change. Okay, so let me change the initial condition. So let me have initial velocity as 2 units, and let there be 0 initial displacement. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, so this one. Okay. See, period is same, and you might have observed, yes, now also it is very much clear that in the beginning and at the end, where we are ending over here after 4 cycles, at that time mass is at the equilibrium position itself. You are giving only initial velocity, no initial displacement, and because of that the mass is at the equilibrium. However, there is no any change between the period of oscillation, and natural that's why frequency, circular frequency corresponding to that period is called as natural frequency. Natural frequency is the property of the system. It is selected. The moment you select K and M, the natural frequency is defined. It will be there. Okay, there is not going to be any change in that natural frequency, whatever be the initial condition. Now let me give, okay, so before that you will also be able to observe that this curve is the sine curve, whereas this curve, which is a velocity curve, is now a cosine curve. Okay, now let me give certain initial condition to it, displacement. Okay, so give certain non-zero initial displacement, let that be equal to 0.2. Okay, see, the mass has started its journey somewhere in between. It was neither at the equilibrium position nor it was at the extremum. Mass started its journey from here. Okay, it was not at the extremum. Okay, it started its journey, went to the extremum, then came back to the equilibrium position, and then went towards the other side. So this is how the curve is, but still the oscillation period is unchanged, and which is equal to 0.6, that is pi by 10, so 0.62 something like that. Okay, so that is not going to change. So here also you will be able to see that this also has got the same period, and you will be able to see that the period in kinetic energy and potential energy graph, that is exactly half of this. Okay, because you have squared quantities, so whatever happens over here is indifferent to the sign, and hence the same thing happens over here as well. Okay, so there is not going to be any change in the kinetic energy, either you calculate it over here or you calculate it over here. Similarly, there is not going to be any change in the potential energy, either you calculate it over here or you calculate it over here. Okay, so that's why you get to see that the period has got halved over here as compared to what is the period over here in these two graphs. Okay, so I guess this much is sufficient for today's class. So we have seen how exactly solution of whatever differential equation and initial conditions we have seen in the last class that looks like. Okay, in the last class we derived that solution, and in this class we have seen that how exactly that solution looks like, and we also tried to kind of take away certain inferences from it. Okay, so we'll stop over here for today. Thank you for listening.